Hey guys, welcome on another segment of Appetite for Collectibles. As you guys see, we're doing a new segment called Hey, I Was in Star Wars. And today I have the luxury of having my first guest, which is Mark Anthony Austin. Hi, Mark. How are you?
Hi, how are you doing? I'm
I'm
glad to
good.
be here.
So I
I
know
didn't
that,
realize I was the first guest. Sorry, I just had to
yes,
say
you
that
are
off the
my
bat.
first
Okay.
guest. So I'm,
Yes.
yes, you're going to be the first one.
I
So
should have worn the
normally,
helmet. I should have worn the helmet. Oh, dang it. Okay.
is that from the movie?
Pardon. No, it's not from the movie.
I know you guys can't keep your props, correct?
Yeah. No. When I took the costume off, um, it was handled by the wardrobe. So wardrobe handle everything. They give you your costume. They dress you. So, a lot of people ask, how come the shoulder bells are swapped in special edition? That's because that's how it came from wardrobe. Wardrobe are in charge. It's not your job to say, excuse me, you have to change that because it's like unions involved. It's like very
Yeah.
serious. So, but yeah, I wasn't allowed to touch any of it. So otherwise, I would have taken that helmet home for sure.
I feel like if I was in your situation, I would have taken the jetpack home. That's because I think
Yes.
that between the helmet and the jetpack, it has to be like the coolest two items, that makes Boba Fett.
Yeah, the jetpack actually was really heavy. Like
Yeah.
of all the armor, the jetpack straps and the gauntlets where they hang, gravity against your wrists. So when I came out of it was only 1 day shoot for both those two shots. Um, but when I came out, I had red lines around my wrists and my shoulders that lasted about a good part of a week, like 4 or 5 days.
Oh,
But,
wow.
but it was worth it.
Yeah, I know. So recently I went to we have a con here in Florida called MegaCon, which is like basically like New York Comic Con. It's like one of the largest cons in South
One
Florida.
day they'll invite me. Just saying that.
Yes. And it was like my first time ever cosplaying, so I decided to go as Bo-Katan. I bought the whole
Nice.
suit and I
Right.
ended up making my own jetpack.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, I have to say, like, I reached out to a couple cosplayers who helped me, like build my shield and everything. I said to them, I gave them a lot of prop because walking for about 6 to 8 hours in full armor, my back was hurting.
Yeah,
And I was also walking around with the dark saber. So I was just in constant pain from my shoulders down the next day.
yeah. Well, you're basing all your costumes on costumes that are used for film, and costumers for film don't care about your comfort. They just want it to look good. So, you know, like the fact that you can't see. And when they shot my scenes, it was a really cold December day in San Francisco. So it was fine for like keeping me cool. I didn't overheat, but my visor just fogged up, and you've only got this much to
This
look
much.
at, and you have to see everything. You have to see your start position, your stop position. I had to be looking towards the top of the Millennium Falcon ramp for where Han and Chewie were last gone. That's where you'd look. So, but I had to look there, but look there, but look there.
So it's
It was
like you wish you had like multiple eyes to be able to look
I wish
everywhere.
I had a real helmet that had a real, hard come up. That's what I
Yeah.
wish.
So I did see and like did my research and everything. And plus, like I saw a couple of awesome interviews. I know you did a couple interviews with a couple buddies of mine from Renovision. One of my friends is Dom October. So I saw that you had worked for ILM,
Yeah,
which that has to be amazing. I watched the documentary on Disney Plus and was
I'm
just
in it.
completely, yeah. And I'm
Episode
just
6, I'm in it.
completely blown away.
Yeah,
How was your experience with
I
ILM?
loved it. It was like when I got offered a job at ILM, it was like I won the lottery. So my whole life has been winning the lottery. I've won it, in this kind of these weird ways. I got to work for George Lucas, who was like my absolute idol. I got to be my absolute obsession since 13 years old. Like everyone thinks I collect Boba Fett because I was Boba Fett. Like, obviously, you collect Boba Fett because you were in the costume. No, no, no. 13 years old, I had Boba Fett's. I was drawing Boba Fett's. I was obsessed. So it's kind of weird that I ended up not just in Star Wars, which I loved, but as my favorite character in the whole Star Wars trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. It's so weird. So working for George Lucas, working for ILM was just another one of those kind of, oh my God, like, how does this keep happening, you know? Uh, but when I first worked, I thought I was going to see him. I thought I was going to see him in the hallways. And the
Okay.
first job, the job I got hired for was Casper. I was the lead animator for Casper. So you never saw George. George was at the ranch, you know. But I luckily got an access to the ranch. That's how I got to get in the costume because I did the Boba Fett thing while I was working on Casper.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
working
so
on
you were
Casper.
yeah, you were taking on multiple jobs basically.
Well, I was working on Casper. I knew the guy that ran the archives, and when they had an event at Lucas Ranch where they needed people to dress up, he called me and he said, "Guess what? I don't build your hopes up because if you don't fit the flight suit, then you can't do it because it has to fit the flight suit that Jeremy and everyone wore. So we're all the same size. If you don't fit the flight suit, you can't do it." I was like, oh.
Oh, wow.
So I had to go along. It was my Cinderella slipper moment. It was mine. It was the
Was it like you were slowly putting on the flight suit and as soon
well.
as you put it on, you're like, "Oh my God, I'm Cinderella."
It was even better than that because I had to just stand in a T pose and they dressed me like Iron Man. The two guys. They wanted to check to make sure they had all the pieces because, according to them, at that time, with just the original trilogy, that Boba Fett had the most individual pieces. You'd think it'd be like Darth Vader or Stormtrooper or something, but it was actually Boba Fett had the most individual pieces you had to put on. So they said, "Do you mind if we just dress you?" So I'm like, "No, it's my dream." I just was just touching the stuff, but they dressed me in it. So I have pictures like front, back, just so they could check everything was there. And so I did this gig at Skulker Ranch, spending like 8 hours in the costume, having to sort of pretend to be Boba Fett for four of them. And it went down so well. They said, "Would you mind doing another one?" I was like, "No, I get to be Boba Fett again, right?" They're like, "Yeah, yeah, because you're the guy that fits the suit." Okay, so I'm the guy that fits the suit. That's good. My favorite suit, and I get to be the guy that has to call upon to jump in it. So I did the second gig, and then well, my dreams, all my dreams are fulfilled now. I got to wear the suit, and it was great. And I still haven't met George Lucas at this point, though. And later on in the year, just after summer went, and it was coming up to winter, and someone came to my desk and um, they said, they're going to be putting Boba Fett into the redoing a special edition. They are? That's news to me. I'm working on Casper. They are? I'd heard it before, rumor, loads of times, but this was here in Ireland. So I was like, wow, they are? They said, yeah, and they're going to be putting Boba Fett. You should email the producer and say that you fit the suit. You're the guy that fits the suit, You might even get in the movies. I was like, oh, okay, he's going to be mad. He's going to ask me who told him. He goes, well, don't tell him it was me, Okay, I'll say a little bird told me. So I sent this email and said, "Little bird told me blah, blah, blah." And I got a response saying, "I don't know who told you this. How did you get this email? Like, how did you get this information?" I was like, "Oh no, I'm in trouble." So like, oh crap, I've ruined my chances now. But apparently George went to a good friend of mine, Steve Williams, and there's a really good documentary about him as well. Um, George went to Steve Williams and said, "Can you find someone to jump in the suit?" And he goes, "I know the guy," because he knew I was obsessed with Boba Fett. Because my ILM desk, it had lots of Casper on it because I was a Casper lead, so I had to have Casper drawings. And
But you had all Boba Fett
all the
stuff.
rest was Boba Fett. It was like Boba Fett shrine. So, and I was always worried about my shrine because I was They put me under this, suspended from the ceiling was a 15-foot plane from the movie Always. It was one of those old planes, like a
Yeah.
propeller plane that dumps water on the forest fires. But this 15-foot thing was right over my desk. Like, if there was a bad earthquake, I was toast. But I thought I didn't mind me going, but all my collection would go as well at the same time. So, but that's how I end up in the movie while I was on Casper. And then I didn't know, because this happened in December. I didn't know that in June of next year, I thought I was done with Casper, and I went to HR, and I thought they was going to send me back to England. So I went to HR, and I said, can I get my details for my flight? And they was like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, we got you down here for as a full-time employee. I'm like, oh, really? I said, I better phone my mum, because she's expected to pick me up at the airport. Like, this changes everything. Like, and they're like, it's okay, right, that you're a full-time employee? And I'm like, yeah. This is like this is a dream to work here. I thought I just had that one 18-month gig working on Casper. That was my contract.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like I won the lottery again. It's like I keep winning the lottery in my life, my lottery, like my dreams. And then they said, I said, what am I working on? They said, well, they have you down here to work on New Hope Special Edition. I'm like, you are kidding me. You are kidding me. And so I ended up doing all the creatures except for Jabba. But all the Rontos and Dewbacks and all the ropes were the hardest things to animate. All the ropes that were
Mm-hmm.
connected to them. Like, there's good one thing animating them. I animated the Rontos based on horses. They had a very horse-like kind of head. So when I
Yeah.
did pulling, I had it kind of pulling like this on this rope. But animating the rope was a nightmare. Every frame you had to change the arc of everything and make it look like physics, like it was actually being pulled and jostling and settling. Oh man. I don't know how I got, and then I had to do the reins on the dewbacks.
Oh, wow.
But the start point of this whole chain, they gave me a chain, but the start point was under the hand of the stormtrooper. So I had to go up to the stormtrooper's hand, turn around, go down, and swoop up and hit that little bit in the corner of the dewback's mouth. I don't have a dewback on hand, which is very unusual actually, but that
I do see the Rancor in the back. The Rancor is actually one of my favorite
oh,
creatures.
that's why I sculpted that.
That's amazing.
I sculpted that. Oh, I had to do a sculpting class in Disney. Ooh. And you had to do a dinosaur. So I was working on Disney's dinosaur. But I said, can I do another class? And this time sculpt the Rancor.
Oh,
He's damage on his fingers. I've got to repair him. But I even made a kind of a box that for his throat to begin with,
oh, wow.
and wire, to make the box. And yeah, and then his feet are actually embedded. The wire goes into between the wood, and it's sandwiched between the wood.
How long did it
There's
take you to?
the dead Gamorrean guard down there in the corner, and a torn skeleton.
Oh my gosh, that's so demonic. I love it. How long did it take you to sculpt that?
I think this one took about maybe 5-6 weeks. Just kind of did it on the side because I was working on Dinosaur as my day job, so that was kind of on the side after work. I even took it home because I had to bake it. You have to bake Super Sculpey on a low heat.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I took it home. I made sure it fit in the oven. I made sure it was not going to be too tall. But yeah.
I think that's funny if somebody, like if somebody else was at home with you and they like open the oven and they see this creature just like sitting there like waiting and you're like, "Oh, it's just cooking. It needs to cook.
Yeah. It's nearly done. Yeah, just
It's
baste
nearly
it. Yeah.
done."
Baste it.
Basing it. So, what did you enjoy more? Did you enjoy more like being part of like filming or did you enjoy more being part of in the background aspect of it? Because
I'm
I know there are two different worlds and I know even though they're the same concept, everything is still related to Star Wars or
Yeah,
just being part of that company. But, I always like to, speak to individuals who have been in both sides
yeah,
of the spectrum and to see like which one they prefer the most.
yeah. Not many people are from both
Yeah, it's like
animation
you
and
guys are like, I
um,
think, a 5% of you.
yeah. So that's why I feel like the odd man out at when I do conventions, because for one thing, I'm up on the stage with my heroes, like they're my
Mhm.
heroes, like Dickie Beer and John Morton and Jeremy when he was with us. They were my heroes, so I felt like the odd man out. And also, when they accepted the role, it must have been different because they're an actor. So they're an actor, they do different roles. They got given a suit to put on that they didn't recognise. They put it on. They got told how to act. Dickie Beer didn't know who Boba Fett was. He never watched the other movies.
Mhm.
He was Boba Fett in Return of the Jedi, but here they get to be told what to do, and then they do it, and it's different for them. For me, just even touching the uniform was one thing, but being in it and being in front of the cameras in it on a blue screen, whatever your biggest dream is. If that came true one day, like way sooner than you could have imagined. Mine only took 15 years to happen. But imagine how it's almost like you in disbelief that it's happening.
Yeah.
Like the adrenaline is so high. For one thing, I just didn't want to mess up. I didn't want to mess up. I, I didn't want it to not happen. I was this close. So the only way it would not happen is if I messed up or if I did anything. I was hoping George would come down. I kept watching. I didn't get to work with George until I did the animation. So 6 months later, I did actually get to sit and talk to him. It was like
Were
starstruck.
you starstruck? Yeah.
I was always starstruck with George. Um, even when you expect to see him and he's there, even he's on a live thing, talking to you on camera, always get starstruck. But no, it was like it's. I wish I had. I wish it was in not in '94. I wish it was like more like 2004, 2014, where I would have way more material, recorded data of it.
Mhm.
There would be way more uh, evidence of the day, kind of thing, or to spark memories and stuff. But they only allowed a photographer in the morning,
Oh.
and they didn't want them there for the afternoon, which I thought was weird because the afternoon was the big shot where I had to do the walk off. Um, so yeah, I don't know why. I think that they were kind of at that time in the '90s very conscious of how much money they were spending on different things. So maybe that had a factor to do with it. I don't know.
And probably it was around a time when they were probably debating if they were going to start doing, like the prequel trilogies. So they were probably, keeping in mind they had a budget. They knew that they were going to be spending a lot, especially, it was a huge technology difference,
Yeah,
between the films in the 70s to, the late 90s to early 2000s, it was more CGI
yeah. But,
aspect.
but you realize that you just stumbled upon the reason why George did it. The reason why he did the special editions was to bump them up a bit before,
Yeah.
so they'd fit. So you got to one, two, three, and it didn't go to like 70s optical effects and stuff like that. So
Yes.
he wanted to
But
give a bump.
yeah, I wanted to give it a bump so they matched
So it wasn't
basically.
it wasn't such a drop. It would be like a step down.
Yeah.
Because he was only going to do. I mean, if I had known, man, if I had known he was going to do Empire and Jedi, I wouldn't have left, and that would have been me in the suit in Jedi. I'm sure of it. But because I left, I thought that was the only one they was going to do, and I didn't know how long we'd have to wait for the prequels. I didn't know that was going to come that quickly after. I didn't realize that we were actually a testing ground for the prequels. Like you was talking about the budget, but I had to write down. I was doing all the creatures shots, and so I had five. They call them TDs that I was feeding.
Okay.
So I was working on five different shots at once, and so I have to write on my time card how long I worked on that shot to the nearest quarter of an hour. They're that particular about it. They wanted to gauge how long shots took, and it was kind of unfair to even include the very first shot, because whenever you have the very first shot in a movie, that is the one that's going to get the most scrutinized. And when it's the most scrutinized, you got so many cooks in the kitchen, kind of, you should do this, and make the do this when it lifts its leg, and make its elbow do this, and you're kind of being pulled this way, and then this way, and this way, and you kind of do something in the middle, but it's not. It's a compromise of all the things together,
Mm-hmm.
and because of this struggle where they're pulling it this way, it took longer to finalize. And I said, look, guys, I said, I need to have the do back finished before I can even do the stormtrooper, because the stormtrooper's movements are all dependent on what the do back's doing. So what's the point of doing the stormtrooper to a do back I got to change tomorrow? The movement of, because one's going to affect the other. You're going to get overlap, swipe,
Yeah.
that kind of feel. So I said, I can't do the ropes until I've done the stormtrooper. Everything's dependent on this do bag being finalized, and they're pulling it this way and that way. And I said, and then it got to the end of the budget, and he was saying, we've run out of money for this. And I said, I haven't finished it. And they said, well, you have to stop working on it. I said, I haven't even started animating the ropes, the reins. I had to animate the canteens as well on the side, because they were going through the dewback skin. It's kind of like a
Yeah.
video game. They go through it, they don't realize, so you have to animate that collision. Like now, we got a lot more tools now in computers. I could constrain it somehow. But back then, you didn't have such a thing. So you couldn't attach one thing to another in the computer. It was impossible.
Oh, wow.
You could copy the animation from one to the other, so it looked like they were together, or you could make it a child of it and make it part of it, but you couldn't have two separate things. You had to make it part of that to make it connected. So if it was Casper holding a cup, it would have to be a Casper holding the cup in the whole rig, and I just had to
Okay.
make the cup invisible when he put it down, and there'd be another cup there exactly where he left it to make the illusion that it
That
left his
he's
hand,
picking it up. Yeah.
or the vice versa. Yeah,
Okay.
but this was the first movie. Casper was the first movie that they'd ever had uh, the hero character be virtual. That was the very first one. They'd never done it before, where the hero, who's going to be most of the movie, was a non-existent character. We had to, create him and animate him. I've got my Casper there. Do you see it?
I know, I saw it. I was a huge Casper fanatic when I was a child. And even when the live action film came out, I loved it as well. It was
Yeah,
Casper the Friendly Ghost. When you're little and you're afraid of ghosts or, whatever is hiding underneath your bed,
yeah,
that was the best thing to watch because it just gave you the illusion as a child that, sometimes your ghosts aren't mean, that
yeah,
they're
yeah,
friendly and
yeah,
they can be your friends.
yeah. No, I loved it. I really liked out working on it, but yeah, it was really tough. With the limited tools we had to do the type of animation that we were required to do pretty fast as well. And, because we'd never done, as I said, the lead character being virtual, they'd never done lip sync,
Mhm.
like a whole movie of lip sync. We had to work out how to make the lip sync. And we ended up on the blend shape method, which is the studio standard now. But there were two methods being tried out, and the blend shape method gave the better results. The other method, if you're interested, they put motion sensors around the lips of the actor, and
Okay.
they recorded how the lips deformed and then applied it to the Casper head. It was like the creepiest
Oh,
Casper movie you
wow.
could ever see. It was like,
I've always been intrigued when it comes to animation because I love how you can see like one thing is, being manipulated to seem it's something else.
like a puppet.
So, yeah, like a puppet. So, just hearing that they're, taking this part of the mouth and moving it there, it is kind of creepy.
It was creepy. So compared to theirs, ours looked much better. So they went with our idea. But I had to draw the every Casper mouth shape, like every emotion shape, happy, sad, scared, angry, and every phoneme shape, so every shape of sound that you need for speech.
Oh, wow.
So it's open phonemes like O's and all the vowels, A, E, all the open ones, and then the closed ones are like P, B, and M. And I had to draw them from the front, from the 3/4, and from the side, and then give them to the modeler, and he would model the shapes based on the drawings. And I had to do symmetrical ones and asymmetrical ones. If he's in like this, it's not
Yeah.
mirrored. And then we let the computer go from a neutral mouth into like an O, and it worked. It looked like Casper opened and closed his mouth. So then we kind of like, okay, this we kind of kept with it, and we made him do like the open vowels and then do the M's, and that's what they ended up with. So, but it was crazy because they'd never done lip sync, and they'd never done. They'd done in 1993. They did the realistic dinosaurs, for Jurassic Park. So they'd done realistic characters, but they'd never done characters who were acting
Yeah.
in a performance. So it was a first CGI character to kind of do what we call character animation.
Did you get to work on any other films, besides Star Wars? You did Casper. Did you get
Because
to do any other shows
I
or
I
movies?
didn't. I did leave to go to Disney after that. So Disney had seen Casper, and they saw the list of all the supervisors, and they were they were calling. So it got to the stage where a couple of my friends went to Disney, and they were just the thing that sold me on Disney was that he said they have a great artist development program where you're hired because you're meant to be a good artist, but they want to make you an even better artist. So
Hmm.
every week there were life drawing classes. There were 3 different teachers who had 3 different styles. There was character classes where it's like someone would be dressed as a pirate and doing different gestures, and people would be drawing them and stuff. There were sculpting classes, like I just showed you.
Yeah.
There were lectures. We had Mark Hamill came in and gave a lecture. Ray Harryhausen came in and gave a lecture. It was crazy. All the filmmakers that you could think of came in and gave lectures.
It's
It was,
funny you talk about starstruck. So I got to meet Mark Hamill
yeah,
last year on
yeah,
my I flew so I live in Florida.
okay.
I flew from Florida to California the weekend of my birthday, which was on Thanksgiving, just to go meet him. And I
That's a
came
tough
back.
time to fly as well. Sorry.
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
flew back. Literally, I was just there for 48 hours and flew back.
yeah.
And like wore a shirt and everything, like saying to him, like, I flew this many miles to meet you on my birthday.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, how you explained about like, George Lucas, that's how I was with, Mark Hamill. I was completely starstruck. I tried my hardest not to cry.
Yeah,
Like after talking to him for a little bit and then I walked away, that's when like the tears were coming out because, that's my idol.
yeah.
And it
Oh,
was just,
I understand fully. I met him. I was exactly the same as you.
yeah.
Go on.
My boyfriend the whole entire time was like, "Do not cry."
Yeah,
He's like, "Show no emotion." And like I did that. I met him. I was like, "Oh, it's such an honor to meet you." I'm like, "You're the reason why I love Star Wars." And then like as soon as I walked away, it was just like
yeah,
a
yeah.
pouring
Oh,
of
yeah.
emotions. Yeah.
My, I went to see him, but I wasn't supposed to meet him. My wife was before she was my wife. She was working on this film doing makeup for it.
Hmm.
And she wasn't the lead makeup artist, but one of her, she came back and said, "Look, who I did the makeup of today," and showed me Mark Hamill's face. I'm like, "You're kidding me? You're kidding me? Really? You did? Yeah, I'm his makeup artist. Really?" So anyway, so it ended up that she invited me to a night shoot at Elysian Park, like midnight over Elysian Park near Dodger Stadium. And it was a closed set, but I had a pass. I had my name on the gate. And she said, you can come, but you can't talk to him. I said, I don't care. I just want to see him like with
Just
my
see
own
him.
eyes. Like I don't care. I can be 20 feet away. I'm happy, happy. I just want to see him. So, okay, well, you stay here next to. This is where her and her boss sat in these little deck chairs. You stay here, and he should be. He should be arriving. So, finally, he turns up in this black leather bomber jacket. And oh my God, Luke Skywalker's there. And everything like you just said, you just had so many emotions because
Hmm.
it's someone that I obsessed over since 11 years old. And so he finished doing what he was doing, and he comes across, he sits right in the chair in front of me. Like I could, I could if I wanted, just go like that, be touching Luke Skywalker's head if I wanted to. I just had the option. It was kind of like I was just bathing in Luke Skywalker, right? So he sat there, and my wife's boss sat next to him. She said, I heard you like licorice, Mark. He goes, oh yeah, I love licorice. Well, she's from Finland. She goes, I got someone to send me over some Finland licorice. I got you a bag and a Ziploc here. This is for you. And so he tried it, and he was eating it. Oh, this is really great licorice, but not as good as that English licorice. And I knew what he was talking about. He goes, I can't remember the name. And I was like, he's like, begins with a B. It's like, it's a name or something. Do you know what it is? She's like, no, I don't know. I'm from Finland. And I knew, and I was like, oh. So I tapped him on the shoulder. I said, sorry. I don't mean to butt into your conversation, but you're thinking of Bertie Bassett's. He goes, yes, Bertie Bassett's licorice. You didn't have Bertie Bassett's licorice in Finland? Yeah, Bertie. He said he stood up and he comes back and he's like talking to me about Bertie Bassett's. And he said, hey, you take it you're from England. Yeah, I'm from England. He goes, oh, I love English candy. I was, oh, I love Cadbury's myself. Oh, Cadbury's. Anyway, this went on for 5 hours.
So you guys basically became like best buds at that moment
Well,
because you were talking about English candy.
well, at the beginning, he was talking, and suddenly someone came across and said, "Oh, Mister, how many got to be on your mark? Your start position." And we just had to do a setup or shoot or whatever to suit some coverage or something. Okay. And he left, and I thought, oh, that was great. I thought it was over.
Hmm.
And I thought I was just hanging around to see my girlfriend, now wife, to say, I'm going, and tell her what the experience, tell someone, and then go. So I was hanging around, and then it wasn't like 5, 10 minutes later, and he's back again, and then that's what I mean. It just carried on, and this happened a couple of times, and in the end, he said, "Do you want to be an extra in the movie?" So I said, "Can I?" And he called the AD, assistant director, and he goes, "Can you just sign a non-disclosure agreement and be an extra?" Oh yeah, I'll get one. Anything for you, Mr. Hamill. He went off, and he got this form, and I just signed it. And so
Oh
it was a
wow.
crowd scene. His part was being the father of somebody on the stage, but he
Hmm.
kind of would have to be in the crowd. Like there wasn't music, but you had to. Sorry, like there was. It was a beat kind of thing. And so he was just chat. And when they had to do a take, just to do the swaying and all that and the waving. And then when it finished, you chat. And then we go and chat back there. But it ended up, like I said, 5 hours later, it was like come up to 6 in the morning. So I had to work at 9. I was working at Disney. So I said to him, I really have to go. He goes, just come in a minute. So I went in his Star Wagon. I went in his caravan with him, his wet Star Wagon, and I'd already told him at that point that we were in the same movie, just separated 20 years, the shooting on it anyway. So I said I did bring. He goes, could you sign something for me? I said, me for you? He goes, yeah, because my son Nathan is a huge Star Wars fan. He would love it if you could sign something for him. I was like, how about we trade? Because I did bring a little Riddell Boba Fett helmet. I said, if you sign mine, I'll sign yours. So he signed mine to one mark, in brackets, Boba Fett, from another, best wishes, Mark Hamill.
Oh,
And then I was leaving, and we were talking for some reason. Talking about, one subject led to another subject. It was licorice, and it was Cadbury's, and it was something else. And we ended up talking about high-speed car chases on the news. How you watch them, and it doesn't look like they're going very fast a lot of the time, but you got the helicopter or whatever. So he said, "Okay." I said, "I have to go," but it's just been like I didn't expect this when I came. This has been an amazing dream. Thank you, thank you. I'm your biggest fan. I gotta go. He goes, yeah, before you go though, before you leave, you have to answer the question. I said, what's the question? He goes, well, if you were in a high speed chase, uh, what would you do? Where would you go? I said, looking at my watch now, really, I got to answer that now, like 6 in the morning. Okay, okay, all right. I said, to him, well, I said, the main thing I want to lose is the helicopter. So I said, I probably would just head to LAX because they can't follow me there. It's a no-fly zone. Lose the helicopter at least. Probably drive into the horseshoe and jump out of the car and disappear into the crowd. He's like, yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. I said, now can I leave? He's like, yeah. Okay, that's how I left. So that's my amazing Mark Hamill experience. That there's no way I can top that ever.
yeah, I definitely agree with you. You have hit the lottery quite a few times
Yeah,
in your life.
I have. I have. I swear I have. Like I
Have
always
you
say,
have you
I
you
could
should write
die
like a
right
little
now and be
you should
happy.
write a memoir.
I should. No one would
You
believe
should.
it. No one would believe it.
No, people would read it.
Okay. I can have people verify it because there's lots of people that I've. It's funny because a lot of people have. I really envy people that had friends that have been with them since childhood or something like that. Because I've meandered, my life has gone this weird path, and now I live like 7,000 miles from where I was born. Um, I haven't had a friend that's been. I've had friends from different parts of the journey. They don't know each other though, so it's hard. It's like I've got groups of friends, but I have to remember. Oh, this person doesn't know that person, even though they kind of overlap, but they're two different
Yeah.
sides of the Atlantic, or maybe
But at
two
least with
places.
that story, your wife is the one who can verify that you were there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
plus, you would probably be on some type of paper that at least it's publicized where it does say that you were an extra. But that's still very cool.
yeah,
Your Mark Hamill story beats mine for sure.
yeah. Well, it's not a case of beating. I just really understand where you're coming from because
Yeah. No, that's a
it's
beautiful
just,
story.
I was tongue tied at the beginning. But it was at a point where it didn't matter because I wasn't part of the conversation. But I
Yeah.
got a tongue not working, and plucked up the courage to kind of butt in. I'm so glad I did.
And it's funny because, I never thought that I was ever going to get the experience to ever meet him.
Hmm.
And, every time a couple people ask me, like, hey, what was it like meeting Mark Hamill? And I just tell them, I'm like, it's like the most majestic feeling ever. It's
Right?
like, yeah, it's, you just, his presence was very positive. He's just very nice. And, you just walk out of that situation going, like, wow, like,
Yeah.
I just met Mark.
And it's the fact is when you get those, like when I was in Portland doing a signing at a toy store, and this little boy came in, and he was physically shaking. It was like such a big moment for him. And so that's why that's the best thing about doing those things, is meeting those kind of kids. Because I was that kid. I met Peter Mayhew
Oh,
when I was a
wow.
kid. but before, it must have been 82. It was before Jedi came out. And in the top of Harrods in London, they actually had a display. So I got to see a speeder bike. I hadn't even seen the movie yet. Like, what the hell is that? Speeder bike. I just got to see this biker scout costume. Like, new stormtroopers, yes. And what else they had there? Emperor's Royal Guard. Like, oh, more stormtroopers. That's cool. What else did they show? A couple of other things. Not too many more things, but Peter Mayhew was there doing a meet and greet kind of thing, and so yeah, I got to meet him, and you know, I was in heaven. I was in heaven. So if I can give that to somebody, then that doesn't cost me nothing.
Yeah.
Cost me nothing. But like they can go away, and you know, so this little kid, he would look at me, and I signed his action figure, and I said, "Do you want to take a picture?" So he said, "Yes." So I grabbed a helmet, put the helmet on, and took a picture. And as I took it off, he was just looking at the helmet. I'm like, "Do you want to wear Boba Fett's helmet?" He was like, shake, 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 shake. It was like rattling on his head. It was the cutest thing. It was like, this is exactly the
Why you
experience.
do it?
Yeah. It's like because all the work I normally do, all the stuff I do with the special effects, with this animation, you don't get to you know the voice of my characters is more famous than my characters. Like Foxy Loxy, you know, uh, nobody knows I did Foxy Loxy, but they know that Amy Sedaris did the voice. You know,
Mm-hmm.
or that D.B. Sweeney did the voice of Aladar, or Martin Short did the voice of the robot in Treasure Planet. And so when they think of the character, they think of the voice actor. They don't think of you. They don't think of the person that actually did all the acting,
Creation. Yeah.
the kind of acting in front of the vocal acting, because they're in a sound booth. You know, they're not doing it. There was actually a shot that we was recording Martin Short, and he was in the sound booth, and it was a shot where he says "Huzzah!" and he's all excited, and as he did it, "Huzzah!" his leg shot up, and I was like, oh, "I'm going to put that in the movie," and it's in the movie if you watch it.
That's
And
awesome.
it was actually what Martin Short did when he did that line. I guess to give it punch, his like leg flew up, almost kicked himself in the butt with one leg. And I was like, oh, I've got to use that. I got to at least put it in and see if I can pitch it. You know? So the directors liked it, and I showed them where it came from. They liked it even more. So
That's awesome. So I did see a couple of pictures online that, and you did mention it before that you did get to meet Jeremy Bullock, which
mm.
that must have been phenomenal.
it was it
Um,
was it was more than that. It was because he was the one that founded the Comic Con. Basically, he was the one that set up the Men in Masks, which preceded the Comic Cons,
mhm.
and they just got associated with comic conventions. That's why they've always been tagged on with them. But the Men with the Masks was the predecessor to the modern day Comic Con. And he said to me, he took me aside when I first met, not when I first met him, but when we were just about to do a show together in London and do a stage. There was going to be a stage. I have 4 Boba Fett's on stage, and he took me aside. I thought he was going to tell me off or something. Have I cast or something in his presence, you know? And he said, "What?" He goes, "Now you got Boba Fett. I've only got one rule for you." And I was like, "Name it. You know, whatever you want. What have I done?" He goes, "No, that's not what you've done." He goes, "I just have a request that you just be cool with the fans. Like, if someone comes to see you, someone comes to they've driven 6 hours and they found somewhere to park and stood in a line and bought some merchandise and they went to see you, and it's just their like moment, you know. I just want to make sure that you're going to be cool with people." And I said, I think I do that already, but you know, no problem. It's given. So I kind of got indoctrinated into the clan kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that was like,
Well, it is a special group. It's a big group of Boba Fett's.
yeah,
It's a nice, like I will say my favorite thing about his character is that, there's only been what, two Darth Vaders? You know, you have Hayden Christensen, there's only two of them that are portraying Darth Vader. With Boba Fett, it's a clan. You
yeah.
guys are your own small
It's a
family.
Mandalorian clan.
It's a Mandalorian clan, and between the animated voices, all the different actors, stuntmen, everything, it's one major clan of just Boba Fett's. And I think that's why a lot of people gravitate to that character as well, as much as people gravitate to like Darth Vader, the Emperor, Ahsoka.
Yeah,
It's that it's a special bond between a lot of people. And I within the past couple, I want to say I'm going to be 37 this year, and within the past 15 years, I want to say, seeing like the 501st and stuff like that, and the Mandalorian mercs making their own segment. They're their own little family, so it's like I love seeing that bond. And I feel like that the Boba Fett fan club, because I saw that they there's a website for it.
yeah,
That makes that character very special, because there's so many of you that share that story and that bond.
yeah. And we're all connected to the founder of the fan club. His name's
Mhm.
Aaron Proctor, and I even went to Aaron Proctor's wedding. That's how
Oh,
connected I am.
wow.
So yeah, he's known me since around about, I'd say, 96, 1996. He discovered who was in the costume. That was his job back then and passion. And he knows all of us. So he actually introduced me to Jeremy. So I didn't get to meet Jeremy till 2015.
Oh,
Took me that
wow.
long. Um, and I got to meet Daniel that same year. But we didn't really kind of bond until we did a show together in Nashville in 2018. And then he just became my adopted brother after that. So,
Yeah, I got to meet him I got to meet him like last month. He's hilarious.
yeah, he's got,
He's a
I just want 20% of your energy, Daniel, or you won't miss it. If I could just plug in and just take 20% of that energy, I envy his.
Yeah, he was a lot of fun. And like one of my favorite things that I've witnessed with a lot of the actors that have played Boba Fett, you guys really love your fans. You guys will
Yeah,
sit there and really talk to us. I had the luxury of meeting Tamora Morrison as well, and he gave me 10 minutes of his time, which was insane, because high profile names like that, you're expecting it to be like 2-3 minutes and that's it.
yeah,
But you guys, that, and that's why, like I said, I gravitate more to like the Boba Fett group, because you guys really enjoy your fans. You guys want to sit there and talk to them and get to know them, and hear their story, and you guys share that bond.
yeah. I mean, we both share the passion because even the guys that didn't really kind of care or know about Boba Fett, over the years have, through being identified with him, grown to, recognize him as a really cool character and worthy of, the kind of popularity that he gets. So I don't know. It was, that's what I'm saying. It's, I didn't, when I wanted to be Boba Fett, I didn't ever think about all of the stuff that would happen as a consequence,
Mhm.
like cons. I didn't even think about cons. I think that wasn't even kind of a thing back then, anyway, in 1994. It's something that really kind of took off like over the 2000s, the beginning of the 2000s. But um, I didn't ever imagine that I would make friends of my heroes. That's the trippiest part, that that I've got the email of those guys, and I can send them an email and ask them how they're doing, and or they'll send me something and ask how I'm doing. It's like, it's very weird. Or on my Facebook, I'll get a lot of my, because I befriended a lot of people in June of last year.
Mhm.
There's a whole big kind of reunion of an Ewok reunion.
Oh, wow.
So I got to get to know them all. It was really nice. 4 days, just in their company, and and now I'll post something, and they'll comment on my post, or correcting me on the scene, like, oh, that was actually so and so in the costume in that shot or something. Uh, That's really cool. It's like I said, it's like I've won the lottery way more than I should have already. And I'm very grateful, and I'm quite happy if I never win the lottery again. I think I'm satisfied immensely
That's
right now.
that's why I said I feel like you should write a memoir.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm looking at Horizon. It's like 8 years away. So when I when I retire, I probably will make an animated memoir.
Yes, an animated memoir. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah,
Do like a comic book style.
yeah. I can just because I used to be when I started, it used to be 2D animation.
Okay.
So it started off pencil and paper because when I started as an animator, there wasn't such a job as a computer animator. So the only option was to do it the same way that everyone else did, paper and flipping paper on a light box. And so I did that for almost 5 years before I bumped into ILM. And then they were they knew that sorry, that's Wookie. Uh, they knew that computer animation was the future, but no
Okay.
one knew how to do it. So they had the great idea of like taking people that knew how to animate and just teaching them the computer rather than teach technical guys that knew the computer how to animate. That could take years.
Okay.
But the other way around, it takes weeks. So it's like, wow, they needed a crew of, I think we had about a crew of 35, 36 maybe on Casper animators, which was like unheard of. And most of us, all of us got trained at ILM on how to use the computer.
Mhm.
And I never had logged into a computer before I turned up to my first day at ILM.
Oh
It's like, oh, you
wow.
got to create a login. Okay, what's that? And the password. Okay, don't tell me. Okay, I never had email. It was it was new. It was like before the internet, or the internet was just taking off, but they didn't allow the internet into ILM for security reasons. They weren't sneaking in and seeing images of what we're working on and stuff like that. So
That's
internet was
amazing.
there, but we weren't allowed access to it. When I went to Disney, it was full access. I was like, wow, they really trust in here. Okay.
So I do have to ask, do you have any any new upcoming projects that you're handling?
Well, I did take a job with Narwhal Studios.
Okay.
And Narwhal Studios have rebranded. They used to be called Happy Mushroom. And you've probably never heard of Happy Mushroom.
No.
But you've watched The Mandalorian seasons 1, 2, and 3.
Mhm.
You watched probably the Book of Boba Fett.
Yes.
You probably watched Ahsoka.
Yes.
You probably watched Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yes.
So those environments, the worlds that are obviously not real, are the company that I now work for.
That's
I
amazing.
joined them guys. So that's going to be a crazy. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm sure it's going to be all good stuff. But I do have a movie that I worked on that is yet to come out. It comes out this summer, and you can see the trailer if you're interested afterwards.
Mhm.
It's called Ultraman Rising, and
Ultraman Rising.
yeah,
Okay.
so Ultraman Rising is the name of the movie. It's on Netflix. It's going to come straight onto Netflix in summer. But there
So what
is
I'll
on YouTube.
what I'll do is I'll put it on the description of the link so anybody who's
Yeah, yeah,
tuning in can look at it
yeah,
and see what, the current project that you're working on.
yeah. But now I don't do. I did animation all the way up to 2009, and then 2009 is when I switched jobs and just decided because when you're doing animation, like if I'm doing Foxy Loxy, I do the shots that Foxy Loxy was in, and that was it. If my character's in it, I animate it. But
Mhm.
then so when I went to watch a premiere with my mum, she'd be like elbowing me every time your shot is coming up. So she was ready for it because it's 3 seconds and it's gone. You know,
Yeah.
so it is rewarding. Don't get me wrong. I did it for 20 years animation, but in 2009 is where I discovered previous, and previous you weren't doing shots, you were doing the whole sequence. So all the really expensive sequences for like Marvel movies, where they know it's going to cost a lot of money, there's a lot of people involved, they've got a lot of action going on. They're rather previous that they'd rather us make it in a virtual set and put all the cameras in and put all the lenses on the cameras as well, and the height of the cameras, make it. Usually, you want to shoot what we call like eye line. Average eye height is the average height of a camera. You won't go for like low ones looking up or high ones looking down. Everything's kind of on this level usually. But we set those up and shoot the action of the whole sequence, and then they not only know exactly who's in front of the camera because they can see it in a virtual set, so they only need this person, this person. They don't need the whole crew and this many extras in the background. They can budget for every shot and organize it with a lot more finesse because we've already done it in the virtual in the previous. So
Oh,
that's what I
wow.
do now. I design sequences, and so for Ultraman, they gave me 11 sequences, but a couple of those sequences in the final battle were so big. Apparently, they're two sequences. So I don't know
Okay.
whether I've done maybe it's 12 or 13 sequences I've done out of 47. So I did a nice chunk of Ultraman. Super proud of it. It was the best movie I ever worked on.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'll
It
definitely have
beats
to
New
check it
Hope.
out.
Beats New Hope. Only because it was such a joy to work on it. Everyone was so like it's. I've never had. It's weird to come off of a production where you are really good friends with every member, like not just some people or a group or this group here that worked on animation or previous or whatever, but the whole group that you're really good friends with. I've never had that before, but it was such a great organic kind of. There was no
Really?
egos. There was total transparency. Everyone was really accepting of ideas. Nobody, was defensive. It was. I don't know. I'm hoping that the movie will show kind of everything that's put into it because there's a lot of love in that movie. But yeah, it's the one I'm most proud of. So that's the only one I can think to plug.
Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. I'll plug it in the description and have everybody check it out.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
So besides doing like movie projects and stuff like that, do you think maybe we will see you hopefully one day at a convention?
Yeah, I do conventions. It's harder when I'm working on a movie
Mhm.
because with even though it's just like 1 or 2 days, there's travel days going and to and from. So for a 2 day weekend, we're talking of no work from Friday off and Monday off
Yeah.
to get there and back, and and be some have some more energy when you turn up to the show.
Yeah.
So it's hard to justify to any employee like every other Friday and Monday you're going to take off. I can't think of many companies that I would even try that with. Uh, so I have to limit myself to one per month usually.
Mhm.
And so I've got some coming up, like in May and June, some in California.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but
Well,
not any big ones. Not any big ones.
con season's starting to slowly troll now, so we'll be seeing a whole bunch of cons
Yeah.
hopefully soon.
Yeah. Usually, what they usually do is they contact me and say, "Can you do this date?" And if I got something on the calendar for that month, then I have to say no.
Yeah.
Um, so it's kind of it's if I were more open, I'd be able to do more cons. But the con exists on that day, and it doesn't shift. It's
Yeah.
whether you're available for it or not. So
Well, Mark, I just want to thank you so much for tuning in with us. This like really meant a lot. I really appreciate it. And if I had to have my first guess, it was literally going to be somebody who played Boba Fett, who wore the suit. Like I'll show you. I have the little rocket missile here from when I bought the jetpack.
oh,
So
nice. Oh,
yeah,
nice.
so I it's like I said, I only have three favorite characters, and I love Darth Vader. Ahsoka is one of my top favorites, and I love Boba Fett. I have like my own little Boba Fett collection. I have like my vintage figures, Funko
Nice.
Pops, little dolls. On the other podcasting show that I'm on, we had John Celestri, who was the holiday animated specialist,
Yeah.
and he did a drawing for me as well. I bought like the Boba Fett book from him. So I love Boba Fett, not as much as like other people I know, but
You're up.
it is definitely a character that when I first saw in Star Wars, I was like, wow. I was like, this is so cool.
Yeah, well, we share that passion. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, I really appreciate you tuning in. Before we log out, just wanted to say, if you want to let everybody know where they can find you, if they ever want to like reach out to you, tell
Mhm.
them where to find you.
You can usually find me at Boba Fett ANHSE, and it's a long name, but it stands for A New Hope Special Edition. So Boba Fett ANHSE, and I'm on most platforms. You can find me on YouTube as well. That's Boba space Fett space ANHSE.
Okay.
But yeah, and on there I do lots of artwork, like that painting up there. Can you see the painting? The
Yeah.
layer. That's one of my paintings.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's Han and Leia.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
And
beautiful. I love what that's one of my favorite scenes of them.
this is a. I did this with Sharpie on a piece of cardboard.
Oh wow. That's amazing.
Oh, and I did. This is a self-portrait in color pencil.
Wow.
But yeah, all of these pieces on my um, website, on my YouTube, you can see from blank canvas to finished artwork.
Okay.
Oh, I'll be in a minute. I'm gonna ruin something.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's my plug.
But that's awesome. The drawings are phenomenal. But again, thank you, Mark. I really appreciate you tuning in.
Thank you.
And thank you guys. Enjoy this. Please go bother him. Follow him on Instagram. Follow him on Facebook. He's very responsive. Tune into his YouTube channel. And guys, check out my description down below. You definitely want to check out the trailer for the upcoming stuff that he has going on. And may the force be with you. I'll see you guys soon.